States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Trustee Gray?
Present.
Trustee Caprio?
Present.
Trustee Rogers?
Present.
Trustee Netsky-Trokey?
Present.
Trustee Sweet?
Present.
Trustee Berrien?
Present.
Mayor Yurkich?
Present. Are there any amendments to the agenda? No? Okay. I need a motion to approve the minutes of May 10th, 2017 village board meeting.
I so move.
Trustee Caprio,
Second.
trustee Berry, discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Reports and communications from the mayor and other officers. I'll start it out. Please be aware that a community-wide mosquito spraying took place on Monday, June 12th. This was the first of 4 scheduled mosquito spraying events for the summer. Residents can also receive advance notices. Advance notices, I usually thought I had a big enough mouth. Okay. Events by contacting Clark directly and signing up through their mosquito hotline at 1-800-942-2555 and ask to be added to the prior notification list for the village of Homer Glen. Residents will be asked to provide their name, address, and phone number, and this will allow them to receive a phone call from Clark the day the village is spraying. Okay. Laricide control and treatment and drainage and detention basins are reoccurring throughout the summer months in addition to the 4 monthly spraying scheduled between June and September. That's it for my report. We'll start down with Trustee Caprio.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm just reporting on behalf of the Parade and Festival Committee. We had a meeting last night. The fest is scheduled for next week, June 22nd through the 25th. We have many great sponsors, rides, kids events. A lot of the bands are ready to prepare to play, so it should be a great fest. Just want to remind everybody that we're still looking for volunteers, so it'd be great if you have anybody who's willing to volunteer, they call the township or even the village hall and we'll direct them to the right place. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Trustee Caprio. Trustee Suisse.
No report tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Suisse. Trustee Rogers.
On behalf of Public Safety, within the next month, we'll be moving the radar that's on 159th Street to Woodland Drive. After looking at the studies that were done on 139th Street, the radar's proven to be very effective there. So based on the feedback that we've gotten from staff and residents, we felt that the Woodland Drive was the best step for that next one. We also were working with the county, and they have approved a flashing light for 143rd and Pheasant for the bike path. Similar, is going to be exactly like the one that we just put on 151st Street at that bike path. So that should help, especially with the summer months coming. Hopefully we can get that going really soon. Also, we approved a engineering study for the Parker S curve, so we'll be looking at some safety issues that we've been seeing over there in the next couple of months. There's no public safety meeting in July, so we'll revisit it in August.
Okay. Thank you, Trustee Rogers. Trustee Berrien.
No report this evening, Mayor.
Thank you, Trustee. Trustee Trachey.
No report.
Thank you. Better? Oh. Okay.
Huh?
No problem. Thanks, Bob. Okay. Trustee Gray.
I just wanted to wish everybody a happy Flag Day, and that's all I have to report.
Thank you. I have one more thing. Real quick. We had a meeting with Northern Will County Water Agency. It took approximately 7 minutes. All they did is said that we won the first part of the trial. Illinois American Water is contesting it, and we should find out something by the end of the year because they keep stretching it and stretching it and stretching it. So there is no change. It's still, we're still suing them for the water pipe. If anything does come up, I will inform you. Next would be the treasurer,
No report, Mayor.
village clerk.
We're still selling mega passes here at the Village Hall during village hours.
Okay,
And we also take credit cards.
and you're selling them till the 22nd or till the 21st?
Wednesday, the 21st.
Okay, thank you. Village attorney,
No report, Your Honor.
public safety officials? No report. Welcome. Village manager,
No report, Mayor.
thank you. 22 minutes looks good. Okay, public comment. The next agenda is going to be for public comment. If you could please limit your remarks to 3 minutes. If it's something that's repetitive and you've heard it before from someone before you, unless they haven't covered anything, we'll leave it at that. First one up is Frank Pilsticker. Hopefully I got that right. Yes. Good.
I received a notice of violation of Village Code 220-303 concerning property zoned for agricultural usage. I've had beehives in my yard for 20 years. All of the buildings, Clarendon Hills. Excuse me, I moved to Homer, Glen. I thought it would be no problem because it's wide open here, beautiful areas, many open pastures and stuff. Obviously, bees don't fit into this section that they're in. It's totally inappropriate for bees, and so technically no one in the village limits can raise bees. It doesn't make any sense. Bees are great for the environment. Bees are used in all sorts of pollination requirements, and they're a good hobby. That they're no threat to anybody's health or safety. I can walk up to my hive and a bee may light on me, he won't sting me. It's just not right, and there's gotta be a way the village board can change it.
Frank, I'll tell you what, let me look into it. I need you to come up here and put down a phone number for yourself, so this way we can get a hold of you. Can't do anything tonight, because I have to, you know. But if you give me your phone number, I'll look into it for you, and I'll have someone call you.
Yeah, I was told that the president of the Will County Beekeepers Association, of which I'm a member, gave a talk to the board last year.
That was the environment committee,
Oh. Yeah, because I'm,
because we're looking into that too.
They were receptive, or seemed receptive, but apparently it's fallen by the wayside.
well, we'll bring it back. Let me just have a phone number, if you could come up here and just put your phone number down, and then I will find out for you, and we'll have someone get a hold of you tomorrow. Thank you. You're welcome. Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. John Coy? I got it here. Haven't said? Okay. John, could you please, no? All right, just 3 minutes if you can. Are you done?
Did anybody ever look into this with the fire district, two of their members lost the election being on their fire district board, then all of a sudden they take it upon themselves as a fireman to just put these people back on the board. I mean, and instead of a three-man board, now all of a sudden they have a five-man board, which is more costly. And why can they do that? And where do you find out information on something like that? Don't we have a little bit of a say-so about it? You know, as residents, that they can change the number, just like it's in use, and all of a sudden, so, well, two of our people lost the election, so we're gonna put them on the board ourselves.
Yeah.
So,
That's right there.
John, if I may, George, if I can, I actually did a lot of investigating on this, what you're talking about exactly, because Dan had won the election. Prior to him and Mr. Doyle taking the seat, yes, the previous board did vote to make the three-man board into a five-man board. So when the new board took office, they were approached with appointing the two men that had, or anybody, two people that brought in applications. And at the second meeting, a special meeting, they had decided not to make it into a five-man board at the current time. When it gets closer to election, they will readdress the situation and decide at that point if it needs to be a five-man. The reason they were interested in making it a five-man opposed to a three is for the Open Meetings Act, because when you have a three-man board, they can never discuss anything on the agenda prior to a meeting. That was the purpose behind going from a three to a five. And legally, the board, the previous board that did lose, they did have the right to do that.
That they said it, then they contradicted themselves, because it's one article, and then with that, they're saying, you know, the taxes went up over $300 this year. And you know, between them and then with the library, which all of a sudden, she's got, well, I got proof of it at home, I kept all of her Horizon newspapers for about a year, and then on the second page, it tells you all the advertising she does in there for the library, which is usually a minimum of 4 to 6 and sometimes 8 or 10 articles. But when it comes to her, looking for an increase in money, she puts her ad in the Joliet Herald, which I approached her on that, and she says, well, that's where I always put it, and I'm gonna keep putting it there because it's cheaper, and that's where I do my advertising. Well, I said, you're totally wrong, because I call up Joliet Herald, they have 80-some subscriptions, Homer, Glen, and Homer Township. I said, the Horizon has over 1,000. Now, you can't tell me they're giving you better, you know, distribution? No, you're wrong. Well, I'm gonna do it that way. That was her answer to me on that. So that was another increase. Then all of a sudden, the fire department, they're gonna hire 2 more guys, put them on the board. I personally, I don't like that it would be legal, that they can all of a sudden say, well, you lost the election, don't worry about it. We'll appoint you.
I didn't like it either, but unfortunately, as they were still in office, they do have the legal right to do it. I did not agree with it either. I don't believe it's morally right, but they do have the right to do so.
All right, this will be a real quick one. 159 Galvin Road. According to your sign up there, it says all of a sudden, you know, they're looking for food for a gas station. I don't remember reading anything other than maybe one little paragraph on that. The gas station wants to take over there, and some of the residents that live on Galvin Road are discouraged about it. When they put this gas station in, are we gonna get paid for the hookup fees?
Yes.
Sewer, water?
Yes.
Because from what I remember, speaking with Mr. Jim Daly, when he had that annexed in, I thought that he said, I don't know,
It's the end user, John. It's going to be, we'll be paying the tap-on fee.
because if I'm not mistaken, he said for them to do that, they wanted free tap-on. So,
No.
like I said,
It's not going to happen.
all right.
Thank you. Next would be Joe Longo.
Yeah, nothing
Okay. Next would be Laverne Perhulis. Must be. Let's have a look. That's all right. So do I. And it got bad eyes.
I do have one. What was your address?
15829 West 139th Street.
And I have a question for the attorney. I actually know this property rather well, the flag lot that's in question. I had made an offer on this property once upon a time. Am I allowed to make any decision on that? Okay.
If you don't feel comfortable, you can recuse yourself. That's not a problem, but there's nothing, I mean, you made an offer on it, how long ago?
2 years ago, 3 years ago. 3 years ago.
I mean, you don't have any interest in the property.
The reason I didn't is the purpose of the driveway.
If it makes you feel more comfortable, you can recuse yourself. It's not a problem.
Okay.
So you're going to recuse yourself? Okay. Any more questions? So what you're proposing then is still allow him to put a driveway in, but you want it 3 to 5 feet away from your property line. And Karen, I guess this is a good question for you.
Why don't we close public comment and then listen?
Okay, yes, yeah, we'll close public comment and then, well, no, it's a question with staff.
There was one other comment I would like to add, that at the previous meeting that we had, I believe it was the zoning commission, they had specified that the driveway cannot be asphalt, but rather needs to be gravel. Again, that's to limit these possible drainage situations that may occur onto my property.
All right.
So that was noted in the minutes, so I just wanted to make sure that that's still included in the stipulation.
Yeah, we'll put that in the discussion.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Is it your husband that is, Mr. Petrulis, if you could, again, put your address up there, and then if you could keep it to 3 minutes, I would really appreciate it. He's what?
Isn't that his wife? No?
Yeah.
Oh, maybe it's interesting.
Okay, Pete Drew Short. One of the things that I'm concerned about is that I had a survey done back on June 3rd. I've been calling this guy, he showed up again once, we do some part of it, gotta do it again, and he told me to give it to our hands by this Friday. When I go out there and take a look at where I think they're marking off their property, there looks to be some sort of like, no, this isn't right, it's wrong here. So I hope, whatever it is, that we hold off at least to this Friday or next week or whatever, just so we get a survey to do it the right way, okay? That's one of the things I have. The other one is, I know there's progress going on, I know we got a bill, we're not against him putting some regular, we just want the right thing to be done. That includes the engineers or whatever, just to make sure that it doesn't flood, okay? Flooding sucks. Okay, we taking care of some of the minor things, I just don't want more flooding, that's all. That's my concern. So all I'm asking is to do the right thing.
Okay. Thank you.
Any questions?
Okay, now we're in legislation action items. Is there a motion to approve ordinance number 17-025, an ordinance granting approval of a variance to reduce the required side yard setback for a detached garage over 750 square feet in the R2 zoning district from the required 20 feet to 12 feet, attachment 1, table 1B, site and structure bulk requirements for residential zoning districts, and a variance to permit more than 3 garage bays in width facing the public right-of-way, Chapter 220614A6, for certain real property located at 14528 South Hawthorne Court, North, Homer Glen, Illinois.
So moved.
Trustee Berrien,
I'll second.
Trustee Suisse, discussion.
I have a couple of questions. Are they here? No, I was just curious as to why such a large detached garage at 792? Okay. It's not commercial, I mean, when you said workshop, this is a home-based thing. Okay, and I was just curious, you have some beautiful, large evergreen trees here. Are they going to be taken out? Okay, good. Okay. And there's no, it says here, you're not putting in a path, asphalt path or drive or anything like that to this garage? You're putting in a new driveway to it? From the street?
It's on a plat of
It's on the
survey.
drawing?
It comes off their side driveway and then opens up.
Okay, okay, thank you. Oh, I see.
Well, I have one. I'm sorry. I always let them talk first because they're the ones that vote. With what Ms. Petrarca said, why does it, why do you need?
This is a different
Oh, okay, never mind. Oh, that's just, okay. All right. Then no, I don't have a question right now. Well, yeah, but you can't get the questions answered. Mine says number one. Okay, so there's, all right. That's just for the setback? Correct. Okay, so this is just for the setback. The next ordinance, the next change is going to be for what it's going to be. No, that's for a different property. I'm confused as hell then.
Make a motion.
Call
Yeah, just call it.
All right. Madam Clerk, could you call the roll?
Mrs. Caprio?
Aye.
Trustee Rogers? Aye. Mrs. Reese?
Aye.
Trustee Nice-Ketoriki?
Aye.
Trustee Gray?
Aye.
Trustee Barrion?
Aye.
All right, but it's the same property. Okay, I'm really confused. Okay. Motion carries. All right, motion carries on that one. And then we've got another one that's another driveway to a garage. Is there a motion to approve ordinance number 17-026, an ordinance granting approval of a variance to permit a driveway 0 feet from either property line in lieu of required 5 feet for certain real property located at 15811 West 139th Street, Homer, Glen, Illinois, subject to the following conditions. The property line dispute is settled between the property owners by June 30th, 2017. The driveway cannot be constructed of an impervious surface. The driveway can be no wider than 12 feet in width. The driveway will include proper drain tiles. The amended easement agreement will be recorded before the issuance of a building permit. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Trustee Barrion,
Second.
Trustee Rogers. Discussion.
Okay, I have a question. Okay, the current, you want to step back up to the microphone? Yeah, if you could. The current driveway that you see that's attached to 15807, oh, you don't have a map in front of you. The driveway that's, the address that's 15807, there's a gravel driveway there right now. It's kind of like a loop-around driveway.
It's asphalt.
Right, but that is the current driveway of the property owner of 15811, correct? Yes, and I believe, from what I understand from when I looked at this, the current driveway that's there, the asphalt, or the gravel that's there. I don't know, do you have the map in front of you?
Why don't we ask Karen? She probably knows.
Oh, hi Karen.
That driveway is part of the easement agreement between 15807 and 15811.
Sure.
So Mr. Longo is proposing to use that driveway and then just keep going back to the house instead of constructing an additional entrance off 139.
Right, and what is the width of that current driveway?
I measured it today, it's 10 feet.
I guess confusion on that because it was measured and it was 8 feet.
8, okay.
So the existing driveway is half 12 feet.
If I could remember correctly, I believe it was 8 feet, that at the current time, 3 years ago, I don't know what it is now. But if it is happen to be 10 feet, if it's a 15-foot that they're looking at, and you want 3 feet on your side, correct?
Well, I would like it to be at least 3 feet from my property line, so there would be an area where I could incorporate some drainage.
Right. So that would leave it down to 12 feet drive, correct? And then the landowner that's at 15807, would that encroach on their property at all?
My understanding, according to Mr. Longo's statement 2 weeks ago, that they have approved of them, of him building the driveway within 0 feet. Because there is no elevation difference.
Correct.
There is really no cause for concern with respect to adding stormwater or runoff.
That's my only question for right now.
We had previously approved this from the owners before to create this into a flagwood lot, correct, about a year ago?
Yes.
When it was a previous, okay, so in April of 2016, April and May of 2016, the previous owners, Volters or something, came to us and we approved a flag lot.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure of that.
You abstained. You abstained from that vote.
Okay.
Okay, so if the motion is read that the driveway should be no wider than 10 feet, I think that would help solve some of the problem.
Well, 10 feet with a,
8 to 10 feet.
right, but 3 feet off of, right.
No, it's 15 with 0, so if you
It's
go 10,
15 with,
still
it's
follows.
15.
Right.
Yeah, so there would be some room there. So,
I don't think it should be 3 feet off one line and 2 feet off another. That's not fair to the other property owner. I mean, if you're going to split it down the center, you have 2 different property owners besides Mr. Longo on both sides. You have the property owner of 15807 for a short period. After it leaves his paved driveway, the existing paved driveway, you're now saying that it would be 3 feet from the west lot line and 2 feet from the east lot line, which isn't really fair to 15807 for that stretch.
Which would only leave 9 feet remaining if you did a 3 and 3.
If you went 3 and 3, you'd leave 9, or you go 2.5, 2.5, and you go 10 down the center. But I think it should be the same on both sides, not favoring one property owner over another.
Right, because the current owner might be okay with it, but if they
Right.
ever sell, then it might be an issue.
Mr. Longo, you want to step up, please?
I guess what are your thoughts on the 2.5 and the 2.5 as trustee Gray talked about, or is 10 feet?
Well, like it says on there, I agree with 12 feet. So, how you want to split it up, I don't see how it matters to me as long as it's 12 feet.
why do you want it that wide when it's not that wide all the way through? You know, you have almost 300,
I'm just trying to keep it as wide as I can just to get back there. That's all. You know, and the gravel and all that stuff, that's fine. I keep it gravel, I don't have any problem with that. So it's just to keep it as wide as I can. You know, that's been the last meeting we talked down 12 feet. We went from 15 to 12, so we did 3 feet last meeting.
Well, okay, how big is the space to begin with? If he was, it's 15.
15, and the ordinance calls for 5 and 5 on either side.
No, it would be 1.5 on each side.
12.
If he went with 12, it'd be 1.5. If he wants the 12, it's only 15,
that's-
1.5
that's the
foot on
issue.
each side. If he would be willing to go to 10, then it would be 2.5 on each side.
Well,
I would make a motion to approve it at 10.
I would second that.
Well, you can't make a motion in a
I mean,
motion.
that would make a recommendation.
Can you speak into the mic, please?
Okay.
This might be a goofy question, but if you have a car going in and a car coming out, how much space do you need?
I can tell you because, yeah, you can't even do it
I don't know, I
on 15.
can't think how big my car is.
I live on a flag lot, and it just doesn't happen. It just doesn't happen. Can't happen.
how wide is yours?
I think mine is very narrow. Mine's about 10, but, you know,
So what happens if you have someone coming in, you gotta back up?
yeah, but I've lived there for 14 years and it's never happened. I always think it's gonna happen, like, you know, the UPS driver's gonna be there or something, and if he was, then yeah, I would just back up, but it's never happened.
Well, think of a parking stall, that's 8 feet. I think it's 8 by 16, a parking
8 by 16.
stall. 2 more feet on either side. You fit a
One
motorcycle
more.
and a car.
One more feet on it, too.
Yeah.
Here is one concern that I have is that the way the ordinance is written, it talks about that the property owners resolve it by June 30th.
I was gonna go there too.
That, I think you can eliminate that.
Yeah.
If there's, because number one, there's no guarantee that anything could get resolved by June 30th. But secondly, that's a matter between those two property
Right,
owners.
not the village.
If that survey comes in and it shows that they're overlapping, there's a remedy that they can use to
Right.
try to address that.
Right.
And it's not this board's job.
I was gonna go there
determine
too. Right.
which
I mean,
property owners.
that's the surveyor's issue and their
Right.
bond issues, not our issues.
Correct.
One of my other issues is the drain tiles that were proposed. Since this driveway is essentially starting halfway back to your property from an existing driveway, where would drain tiles be installed and drain to?
I don't think drain tiles should be installed. They don't make any sense, because you're just concentrating the water at one location. Just let it take its course through the grass. It's like the grass.
So you're not going to put in drain tiles, or?
If you want
you'll-
drain tile, look at drain tile. I just don't think it makes much sense.
Well, I'm not an engineer, so I don't know where drain tiles would go to in this situation, going, again, you're spanning a middle portion of a piece of property, so in picking up a paved section, and I just don't see, after walking this, the swales all out along 139th Street, one is filled in. The other one, they said, isn't really functioning well.
The only logical thing is that it gets taken back to the rear of the house. And again, then you're just concentrating water. It's gonna just seep right there.
I think that may be something better left to our development services staff. Leave that to the experts. My question for Karen would be, Karen, what would be, from a planning perspective, driveway width? What would be, is 10 foot too narrow? Is 8 foot too narrow? Is 12 foot? I don't know driveway width from a planning perspective.
There's nothing in our code that states that you have to have a minimum driveway width. There's only a maximum driveway width, and that's 28 feet. And that'll usually serve like a 3-car garage.
Sure.
But there's nothing really in our codes that states the good size of a driveway.
In your opinion, 10 foot is, a 10-foot wide driveway is enough for a piece of property like this for access to and from?
Well, if you take into consideration Carlo's comment about parking stalls, they're anywhere from 8 to 9 feet in width, depending on which city you're in. But usually it's either 8 feet in width or 9 feet in width. So if that gives you a comparison of what that seems like in real life.
I think also, if you consider it's gonna be, if it, let's say we decide with 10, and keeping in mind that it's gravel, that kind of gives you a lot more leeway. Or mine is 10 and it's asphalt, I don't have really any leeway without
Going on the grass.
going into the grass, but when you have the gravel, it gives you, a little bit more room there. I think it's great that he's willing to do gravel too, because that's gonna help with the drainage.
One other thing
let me ask one question. The owner at 15807, have they, at 15829, right? Yeah. The 15807 with the easement agreement and the use of the driveway. At plan or in writing, or have we received anything from them opposing the variance?
They were notified by mail. They didn't call, they didn't attend the public meeting. And Mr. Longo has stated he's spoken with them and they don't have an issue, so.
And I guess my only point on this, because I certainly agree, but we have a variance up for 0, and we have 15807 that has multiple opportunities and was notified and hasn't objected to a 0, correct? That's factual? And so while I think that splitting it down the middle certainly makes sense, I think we have one homeowner with an easement agreement and a use of the driveway already that has not objected to 0. And I'm not saying keep that at 0, but it makes me a little more comfortable of not having to do a split it down the middle, 2.5, 2.5. If we're talking about concerns with utilities and things like that, if there's a reason to move this over to one side, that would be something that.
Do you, Mr. Longo, do you know the resident that lives in 15807?
I met the wife.
The wife.
I talked to her.
Well, I guess if 12 was approved at planning, and he agreed to 12, is there a utility issue at 12?
That's what I was going to ask too. Just like the village board's being asked to make a variance to the utility easements, are they asked to make variances as well when things don't go quite the way they'd like?
Well, right now, I'm not aware of any utility or drainage easements on the property, just because it was platted so long ago. Typically, when these parcels that were platted a long time ago usually didn't include utility or drainage easements.
Well, I have a question, though. If it's 15 feet wide, you're asking for 12. That would only leave a 3-foot utility easement anyways.
Correct. But if it's gravel, like the other trustee was saying, I mean, if I want to give him 5 and give him 5, it's easy with gravel. So if I'm given the 12, that's fine. But if my roadway might be 10 because of the easement, if they need it, that's true. It could go down to 10. But I would like to have the utility company tell me that. Because I don't know for sure. I was told there was 5 feet.
I guess what I'm saying, if the space is 15 feet and you're asking for 12,
Okay.
even if we went 3 feet and you got 0 and 3, that still doesn't leave you 5 feet for the utilities. And that was one of your concerns, is if we went down to 10, it's only 15 feet. You went 0 on one, 5 on the other.
2 feet on my property. They would come on 2 feet on my property.
But you would have 2.5 feet, which would be 4.5 feet. If you had gravel, you could give them a little bit more room. So 2.5 feet on both sides can make sense for a 5-foot utility easement.
As long as the roadway can go over on top of the gas line, I don't know.
Well, it can, but if something happens, they dig it up.
And if it's gravel,
That's why if we can keep it to the one side, if you want to keep it to the one side and tell me I can only put a 10-foot drive and keep it gravel, that's fine.
but you're not okay with a 2-foot, 2-foot, and 10 in the middle as gravel?
2.5, 2.5.
2.5, I mean, on each side. Reason?
Because then that easement is not a designated 5 feet. It's not a solid 5 feet for the utility. My driveway, but I'm putting the driveway in just to move it.
So what if it was 3 and 2?
It's still not 5 feet.
But you said if you went 2 feet on your driveway, you'd be okay with that.
Okay, but I'm putting the road on top of the gas line.
It's gravel.
I'm not the gas company. I don't know if they're gonna let me do that. I don't know. If it's 0 and 5, everybody's safe.
I think maybe we should ask the utility company what they would need then to be safe.
The conversation with them on the phone is 5 feet.
Because according to the one I had at my house, it's 10. I had to build my fence 10 feet away from the property line. So why is yours 5 and mine's 10?
I don't know. I know the gas, they were out there, they walked it, I walked it with them. He said 5 feet.
I think we need to have clarification.
What I would say is you probably have on your
So if he needed one,
The utility company probably just said we need the 5 feet in order to install the line for the install. But I'm thinking the 10 feet that you're referring to was just something that was part of when your property was platted as part of your subdivision. That's what was agreed.
not in a subdivision, but
You're driving normal vehicles on this drive?
No commercial vehicles, no commercial. I mean, I got a big truck, but it's a pickup truck. Yeah.
I have a question on the person at 15807. Are they totally aware that it might be 0 on the property line? I mean, was it put that way so they understood that?
did you speak to those residents?
No one called me, that's how it was written in the legal notice that was sent out.
A couple of years ago, if it's the same residence, from what I understand, she's a senior, correct? She's not there anymore. It's a different resident? Okay.
Didn't
Well-
you say this was created last year, this flag?
Mm-hmm.
It expired.
Okay. So at 15807, they're aware that it could be 0 because they've created an easement to come up to their property line.
And I think, if I remember correctly, they were related at one point, the front parcel and the back parcel, if I remember.
Yes.
And you would think if in closing, they would have received any recorded easements against their property.
So where are we at with it? We need some kind of a motion, right?
I just have one more question, sorry. So if this house at 15807 ever gets sold and we allow a 0,
It'd be
Then-
recorded.
It would be recorded that way.
So they would know before they bought the house.
and the motion is a 0, right?
Well, that's the original motion.
It's the original motion.
So you can change the motion to,
I didn't make the motion.
here. Yeah.
Actually, the original motion says 0 feet, but it says the driveway can be no wider than 12 feet. So it's leaving the foot and a half on either side right now, so looking at the original motion.
We were going to, I think, amend that to 10 feet.
No, I know, but if we're in the original motion
Was,
Well,
yeah,
it's for
12
right.
feet.
Right.
Put 0 on one side.
What is the consensus?
And what about the drain tiles? What's your thought?
I
Well-
agree with them.
If they,
If they deem it, then yes.
and it wasn't deemed with, it doesn't say here what they're supposed to have for, to put the driveway in. They're not saying asphalt, stone, or cement.
And I also think we just strike 1 relative to the dispute. That's my own opinion.
Mayor, might I suggest that we revoke the first motion and then the board go through another motion with the ones that they want? It might just be cleaner.
All right, so we're going to split the motion now.
Well,
You have to withdraw the motion, yes.
Sure, I would withdraw my motion.
I'll second.
Okay. All right, so the new motion is going to be the 10 feet with 3 feet on one side
And 2 on the other.
and 2 on the other. Well, the 2's already there, it's already set up. Okay, so someone needs to make a motion for a 10-foot driveway.
3
with
on the west.
3 on the west side, with 3 feet.
What do we do about the 5 feet the utility company requires?
Well,
You said
Only
they
thing-
were going to go on your property then.
yeah, if something happens,
Yeah, that's doable, sure.
well, it's doable because they don't care. They don't care what's there. If something happens, they have the right to dig it out.
Yeah, it's in their way, don't.
So as long as you're okay with that, and you're okay with, you got your 3 feet,
And it's a gravel surface.
and it's a gravel surface, which I wouldn't want, but,
I will make that
Drain tiles are
motion.
left up to the engineering.
Yeah.
You're taking out 1 and 4, correct?
Well, I think we're making a whole new one.
Yes.
So.
Okay.
and we're, yeah, amending 3 to 10 feet, so it's gonna be number 2, driveway, well, it says driveway cannot be an impervious surface. So the stone is good for there for right now?
One more point, is if I have the 3 feet, and I give 2 feet on my property, that they tell me my driveway can't go on top of the gas line, I just lost 10, my 10 feet went down to 8 feet.
Well, then what I would do is call the gas company and ask them, and have them put it in writing.
You want it ready? Okay.
I think you want it in writing.
Sure. Well, that's just what you told me verbally, so.
Are we removing 4, because I mean, it
No.
still needs proper drainage.
Well,
No, but proper drainage.
well, you're still gonna, it's still gonna be the same,
Okay.
because it's still all impervious. Everything can,
I'm not a drainage expert, I'm just saying.
well, if there's flooding there right now, that wouldn't change, because gravel's not gonna stop it.
Okay.
All right, so, yeah, go ahead.
What I think we want is a motion to approve ordinance number 17026, an ordinance granting an approval for a variance to permit a driveway 2 feet from the east property line and 3 feet from the west property line in lieu of the required 5 feet for certain real property located at 15811 West 139th Street in Homer, Glen, subject to the following conditions. A driveway cannot be constructed of an impervious surface. The driveway can be no wider than 10 feet in width, and the amended easement agreement would be recorded before the issuance of the building permit. Does that sound right to it? So we've eliminated 1 and 4, and we've changed it to 10 feet.
Correct.
Correct.
And we've addressed 2 feet on the east side, 3 feet on the west side.
Okay. So, Madam Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Do we get a first?
No, we need a motion.
Also,
I thought that we already changed it.
So moved.
All right, so the motion that was just put out there,
Christina?
who's,
yeah.
all right, who's second?
Second.
Keith, okay. Now,
Now the roll
please call the roll.
Trustee Gray?
Aye.
Trustee Caprio?
Aye.
Trustee Rogers?
Aye.
Trustee Suisse?
Aye.
Trustee Varian?
Aye.
Trustee Noisky-Trojki?
Aye.
Motion carries. I get a hold of the gas company right away and tell them, put it in writing. All right. Is there a motion to approve ordinance number 17035, an ordinance declaring surplus property and authorizing its sale?
I so move.
A second.
Caprio, Rogers, discussion?
How is this going to be auctioned?
Yes.
What's that process?
It's a online auction system. We take pictures and describe the items and then put it through an online auction system where they go out and get the best rates.
A standard online auction system?
We've
Nothing
used it-
specific to government surplus or?
No, we've used the same system in the past.
Okay. And we'll get a report on the final disposition of these?
Yes,
Do we put a minimum?
I don't believe so.
No. So you could auction $1.
For
I
a
believe-
dollar. They can auction it for anything they want. It's going to be highest bidder. It's just something that you want to get rid of. 3.
Auction usually go well.
Okay, any other discussion? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Noisky-Trojki?
Aye.
Trustee Varian?
Aye.
Trustee Suisse?
Aye.
Trustee Rogers?
Aye.
Trustee Caprio?
Aye.
Trustee Gray?
Aye.
Motion carries. Number 4, is there a motion to approve the mayor's appointments as listed in the attached spreadsheet to the Administration and Finance Committee, Community and Economic Development Committee, Environmental Committee, Parks and Recreation Committee, Public Services and Safety Committee, Homer Harvest Days Committee, Parade and Festival Committee, and the Emergency Management Agency? It is understood that all appointments are for 1 year.
I so move.
Trustee Caprio?
Second.
Trustee Gray. Discussion?
I do have one quick question. What's it? Oh, go ahead.
Hold on 1 second.
Yeah, which one? This is the updated one?
What's the date on the bottom?
Oh, that's right. 6/9. Okay, yeah, it's fine.
All All right, so we have the motion and a second. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Gray?
Aye.
Trustee DiCaprio?
Aye.
Trustee Rogers?
Aye.
Trustee Suisse?
Aye.
Trustee Barrion?
Aye.
Trustee Nancy
Aye.
Motion carries.
Mayor, just real quick, I think a big thank you to everybody that serves on these commissions. These are volunteers in town that put in time and effort, and I just think they ought to be commended, and we're very appreciative.
Thank you. All right, I need a motion. Is there any old business? Any new business? I need a motion to adjourn. I need a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Meeting's adjourned.